There we go. In today's competitive marketplace, the ability to connect with clients on a deeper level is more important than ever. Empathy, the capacity to understand and share the feelings of others, is a powerful tool in the sales process. In today's session, we'll explore how empathy can transform your sales approach and drive meaningful results. As I mentioned earlier, today's presenter is Abdullah Kafi, sales leader at Best Buy Business. Abdullah leads a high-performing team of account managers across Canada, playing a pivotal role in crafting and executing targeted sales strategies within the hospitality and commercial AV sectors. His efforts have significantly enhanced the value of Best Buy Business's offerings, making them more competitive and driving increased market presence for his clients. His leadership experience spans key roles at Loblaw Companies Limited, at Jysk Bed Bath & Home, where he led large teams, significantly improved customer satisfaction, and consistently delivered strong sales performance. Now, just for some quick housekeeping that I'm sure we all already know, but that's okay, we'll go through it anyhow. The session will be recorded and will be sent to you afterwards. We will be encouraging webcams on if you can, just to get a little face time with your presenter as well as your peers. You may ask questions or make comments using the chat function in your Zoom dashboard, and they will be addressed at the end during the Q&A. And for those on the CPSA designation pathway, maintaining your professional development units, this session is worth 1 PDU. As a new CPSA offering, all attendees will receive a certificate of participation accompanying the recording after the session, which can then be downloaded and added onto your LinkedIn. Now, without further ado, I will hand it over to Abdullah to get started.
Thank you, Ropalyn. And I hope, good morning, everyone. I hope it's good morning still. I'm in Calgary, so it's good morning to all of you. I'm really excited to be here as a certified sales professional from Canadian Professional Sales Associations back in 2020. As a very passionate seller, I always wanted to do something for the community. So this is a great chance, and I'm really excited and looking forward to the engagement for next 45 minutes to an hour. All right. So before I move on to the objectives of the sessions, I want to give you a little bit of background why I choose these topics. As a sales leader and a sales coach, I always thinking about what is differentiations or how we can make the differentiations, because the differentiation is the most key elements that you can bring into you with your sales approach, and that will bring lots of value to your client, and that's why client will choose you over your competitors. So when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about writing a nice email. Obviously, that's a very good quality. Or when we talking to our client, we sometimes say that our pricing is really good. We have the lowest price possible in the market. Sometimes we say that we do have the great offerings, we do have a great solutions, or we know about the product, we know about the offerings, all those kind of things, right? But those are all common. Like all common means everyone is going and call your prospect and tell the same thing that, hey, this is what we have, and buy from me, buy from me. Then I thought about it, is it the only way we can differentiate ourselves when you are in front of the client? So I thought about, the big difference actually, it's you. So what I mean by that, when you are talking to your client, when you are presenting your solutions, you are the one who actually create all the difference. So, and if I explain how that happened, that's the conversation we'll go through in this presentation. The way you can make the difference is your skills, your ability to understand client. That makes you unique in this race, and that will help you to be the front runner to win the deal. So, and for doing that, I think the empathy is very, very important. Or understanding the empathy or understanding your client is really crucial for your success. So that's why, these whole topics came up to my mind. And that's why I thought, I share some of my experience, some of my, overall journey of empathy to all of you. And to me, actually, empathy is a very big part of my life, and it's a very big part of my career journey as well. All right, so we'll talk about a little bit in this whole journey. We'll talking about the objectives. Like the first is we'll talk about the definition of empathy and its importance in sales, and then we'll going over quickly the overview of the sales process and how that impact, like how empathy can impact in the process. Then we'll talking about our third steps is cultivate empathy. And in our 4 points, we're talking about more on the practical strategies for demonstrating empathy. And the last one, we're talking about the impact of empathy in today's sales. So that's something, what we'll cover in today's sessions. The next one, I'll talk about the learning objectives. Uh, to be very candid with all of you, what I really hope that you will all take away from this conversation is three things. Three things. One is, you understand the impact of empathy in sales, number one. Number two is that understanding or that impact of empathy will drive value to you. And number three is that value will help you to be differentiated in front of your client. I really hope that you will take this away, that, how this can make a big differentiation. So obviously, I put some points that, gain valuable insights in your sales skills through empathy and, learns how to differentiate yourself and talk about some value that makes you top of the mind of your clients. And the fourth one is, how you can increase your customers' loyalty. But the end result is you definitely want to take some take some things away with you that how empathy can help you to drive differentiation for yourself in front of your client. So that's what I hope that you will all take from the sessions. All right, so let's dive in a little bit about empathy. So in the first one, we're talking about understanding empathy. So as you all know, that obviously there is different explanation of empathy, but if I'm talking about the sales perspective, what is empathy? It's all about, understanding and share your share someone else's feelings to you, which means is, by putting yourself in the client, your customer positions. And when you are empathetic, it helps you to understand their needs and also the concern. So that's the best way, because this is empathy is more about, interpersonal relationship. In that interpersonal relationship, you try to understand the person in front of you or, over the phone with you, and you try to understand their pinpoints, and so that you can offer them personalized solutions or personalized conversation that can meet their expectations. That's all about. And if I talk about in one sentence, empathy is putting yourself in someone's positions. That's the one word. Like how would you feel when you are in dealing with this situation? That's the question you would ask. If your client is asking for you, hey, I'm looking for these solutions, or I have these problems, I don't know how to navigate that. And when you are an empathetic seller, you just want to feel like, how would you react? When you are having this kind of situation. So that's the key, that, putting yourself in someone's positions. The other thing is, why empathy is really important in the sales, because, there is a myth in the sales profession that, when we call client, we always call client for intentions. We always call clients, for, pitching and, treating our client, as a potential rail rather than, dealing with a human, right? So empathy will help you to differentiate that aspect as well, because it's not about, you just make the sales. It's about, how you can help your clients, how you can solve their problem. So it's changed the approach, how they think of you. And the third one is, I give you a great example of Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, who actually, elevate Microsoft to a different level. He actually talked about empathy on his career and how that impact his career, like significantly. And he also thinks that, empathy is a big differentiator when you're working with a client. And as I mentioned, it impacts significantly in my life as well, because, I was thinking about, if let's say I'm going to the bank and to get some service, what I expect from them. The same way, do I treat my client, or how do I treat better my client so that they can be happy when they're dealing with me or when they're dealing with my team. So, so that's the understanding of the empathy. So the next one is, team, we'll talk about, the importance of empathy in selling. As many of you know, there is lots of professionals, in this call who are been probably seasoned in sales and who are also probably a new seller. But if you think about it, pre-CRM time, like there is the era of the pre-CRM, when there was no CRM, when we do not put any information in the system, the sales was very different. The sales was very different. The way of doing sales is very different. Over the years, sales has been shifted over the time. If you even think about post-pandemic and pre-pandemic, sales has been shifted significantly. right? So pre-pandemic, sales is doing in one way. Post-pandemic, sales is totally different, doing in different way. One of the very key things is being introduced in the market is more on the virtual selling. As you all know, that the way the virtual selling is being more the norm at a time, because if you are trying to set up a call, you usually set up a call through Teams or through Zooms or through other method. Obviously, yes, we still meet in person, but our first point of probably contact through many ways is virtual selling. So in virtual selling, it's very harder actually, to understand our client. Like it's very, very difficult. So, we solely rely upon, our relationship, how we can build a relationship, how we can nurture this relationship, and how we can move the relationship to the next level. And to do that, I think empathy is a very big part of that conversation. The second things, and when you're dealing in virtual environments, so let's say myself, I work from home, so which means I'm isolated. And when I working, I definitely involve my personal life and the work sometimes overlaps, because if someone is shouting in my house, just as an example, it impacts me, right? Or if my kids is playing around in my office, it impacts the way I communicate with my client, right? Or let's say if my kids got hurt and start crying, then it impacts my concentration, that how I'm communicating with my clients. So it's really, really crucial that, when you're working in a virtual environment, it's really important for you to, being empathetic and understand how you can navigate those situations. And the third one is, if you are in the consultative selling, which means, you're going back and forth with the client, you understand clients, you're getting the feedback from the client, you're getting you're getting the pinpoint, or client was asking you or sharing you the problems. I think it helps you to, if you're being an empathetic seller, it helps you to, separate yourself from the competitions, because you try to really show the genuine interest that you are actually going to help your client. And the fourth one is what you're talking about, empathy is not just about the sales, which is, I've been talking, it's about understanding, connecting, and building relationship that bring real value to your customers, which is, you're not thinking about just making the sales, you're going there to serve client in a real interest that you want to solve their problem. Ruplin, I don't see the chats or anything. If anyone has any questions, during the conversation, feel free to put that on. And if you can, just let me know, then more than happy to answer, because I know that sometimes it can be boring to, just sitting and just, listening. So more than happy to, if anyone has any questions, I would be happy to address, or we can have that engagement. Or if you have anything you can share, I would highly appreciate that. If you want to share any of the example where you think that empathy was a key part of the discussion. So more than happy to welcome those conversations as well. Okay, all right, so let's move on to the next slides, which is the key steps to your sales process. Again, I'm not going to going over the sales process, because as you, like all professionals, you all already know the sales approach, like what the approach you actually do. The reason I actually put these slides into this presentation, because I just want you to see that, how empathy can impact your sales approach. Because, when I look into your sales approach, or everyone's sales approach, probably, one after another, or the chronological order may be a little bit different, but it's the follow the same process, which is, you're doing the prospecting, which means this is the first step of your sales. You try to understand your business opportunities, and you try to understand whether this is the right contact to go after, and whether it fits your product and offering, right? And then the next one is the research, which means, you'll be researching with your prospect, just understand their business, understand their needs. And then, on the third steps, you'll be reaching out to them, probably set us time for presentations, or identify the right contact. And on the fourth one, you'll be probably talking about more on the qualifications, whether the individuals you're reaching out, whether that individual is the right fit, what you are looking for, or what you're looking to achieve. And in the fifth one, you're going to do the presentations, you're going over with your approach, you're going over with the offerings, you're going over with the value. The sixth one, you're talking about the handling objections, which means they will bring up with some problems, they will bring up with some objections, and you will be able to address those objections, and you'll be able to move that sales forward. And the last, the seventh one is the closing the sales, which is you'll be asking your client to whether they would be able to close the sales or not. And the last one is the follow-up and support. But when I going through this whole sales approach or sales journey, I see that, from research to closing the sales, even actually after closing the sales, it's in every steps. Empathy is very, very important. And that's something, we'll be discovering into our next couple of slides. But, in your sales approach, and then you will actually recap that, when I'm going through this, you'll see that, we can do things differently, or how we can make things differently, or how we can touch empathy into your conversation to make it more impactful or more meaningful. So that's something, we'll talking about in the next couple of slides. Okay. All right. So the next one is, we're talking about cultivate empathy in your sales approach, which we just talk about, key steps of the sales approach. Now we're going to talk about, cultivate empathy in your sales approach. So, when we start our empathy and the conversation of empathy, we're talking about empathy means understanding your clients or someone else feelings and their needs, right? So that was where we're standing, where we talk about it. So the client in understanding is the key or the beginning of your cultivating empathy. So what does that mean is, it helps you to understand your client. It helps you to understand their concerns, their priorities, their motivations. And when you understand your client more deeper way, then it will allow you to help understand their approach. It will help you to offer the solutions that you think that is right for them. So, so understanding empathy, like understanding your client is the key for, starting your empathy journey. The second one we talk about is trust building. So if you think about the trust building, the time that you build a trust with your client when your client is actually thinking you as a partner rather than as a seller, right? So empathy can help you to build the trust with your client. Because if you all remember, we're talking about there is a myth that salespeople always intentional, they always want to sell, they always want to pitch, right? So, but when you have empathy, that will help you to build trust with your client. And it's helpful for a long-term relationship. It also help your client to be seen and understood, and then they understand that they can rely on you, they can share more information with you. So that's how this trust building will help. The third one is adopting the change. So what that means is, when you are an empathetic seller, you're always thinking about what you will identify, what is the type of your client, what your client actually likes, how they prefer to be communicated. So what I mean by that, some people are data driven. Some your client will say that, they're very energetic, they're very passionate, they'll probably open up many things. Some clients are, very much straightforward. Some clients are, very much quiet. They are just only talking about the business and very specific. So as an empathetic seller, it helps you to understand those. And then that will help you that how you're going to communicate with your client more effectively, right? So that's what I mean by the adopting the change. Then the fourth one, we're talking about the anticipating and responding to emotions. So what I mean by that is, it helps you to understand your client's mood. Sometimes your client maybe you're very anxious. Sometimes they may be, not being more friendly because of the situation on the market. If you think about it, just give you an example. During the pandemic, when there is like all the restaurants are being shutting down, the hospitality is shutting down. If you call a hotel and say, "Do you want to buy a TV?" It's absolutely like not acceptable because that like that industry is suffering during the pandemic. Why would you call someone that they are already very anxious with their existence, right? So they help you to anticipating and responding to the emotions, and you can tell them that, hey, I don't call you to sell, I don't call you for sell, I call you to understand, to make sure that you are okay. Is everything okay? If there's anything I can help you, if there's any way I can support, then please let me know. It's just more about, you understand the challenges they've been going through, right? The fifth one is effective problem solving. So, obviously we do the problem solving. We try to obviously solve the problem all the time with our client, and that's our job. But, when we say the effective problem solving, you solve your problem more gracefully instead of reacting, let's say a client is sharing problems, Instead of, you just reacting defensively, you just try to, understand their concerns and console their concern, address their concern, and then you come up with, problem solving solutions. And that's going to help you to build your trust even, further with your client, that, you listen to them. You just do not jump on the solutions right away. You understand their concern, you address their concern, and then you try to solve the problem, right? The sixth one is the reducing client resistance. So what I mean by the resisting client resistance is, if you think about it, I'm just giving you a scenario. There are many scenarios where you walk into a sales environment where you see that sales individual is trying to push for sales, right? So I'm sure you know that. You all can relate to yourself. There are many scenarios like that. But if you are an empathetic seller, you will know when to push, when to pull, and when to listen, right? And it helps you because sometimes, if you are in an environment where you don't want to be pushed, you want to little bit, alone and make the decisions. And if someone keep pushing you, then you don't like that. You will probably say, I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to make the decisions at the moment because I want to think of myself a little bit before I make the decisions. You need to give me that space. So as an empathetic seller, you will know that, how you can let that situation go, and how you can, bring your client together when need to close the sales. So that balance is really crucial, in your sales. And the last one is, we're talking about improving sales and the team dynamics. The whole topics is, when you're thinking about the empathetic seller, what is the reason to be an empathetic seller? The main purpose of empathetic seller is to be transactional, to be relational. We want to build a long-term relationship instead of short-term relationship. We want our business to have a repeat business rather than having a one-time business, right? So that's our main goal as a sales professional, that if we want to be empathetic seller, if we want to adhere all these, skills in ourselves, what is the purpose? The main purpose is we want to have a repeat client. We want our client to be loyal to us, and that's the main purpose. And if I'm talking about the team dynamics, when it's talking about, how empathy can help your team dynamics, that's it's a big way is, empathic seller usually, they're a very go-giver. They try to help collaborate and, promote a positive environment within the team, right? Their approach is more about towards helping the team members rather than let them fail. So it's more about, positive environment, create collaborations and create, better working environment relationships. So that's, how you can cultivate empathy in your sales approach. You can cultivate empathy, your relationship with your peers or with your stakeholders. Anyone's want to add? Like, do you have any questions or anything? I know that I'm asking. I know there is a question part at the very end, but I highly appreciate if anyone has any questions regarding the slides, because I believe this slide is very crucial for your empathy journey in your sales approach.
And feel free to please take yourself off mute if you'd like to add anything or ask any questions as well.
Okay. All right. No, that's good. So I don't see any questions, so we can move on. So the next one, we'll talk about professionals regarding the practical strategies for demonstrating empathy in, sales interactions. The one we want to talk about quickly is like the, different ways of how we can, put these like the skills or put this exercise into our daily communications, right? So, in my first one, I said about, in empathy is, be human. So what I mean by that, be human is obviously, but when you are dealing with your client or prospective client, you think them as a human. It's not about just, you're just doing the business. You're just trying to go there to close the sales. You're trying to build a relationship, like, build your interpersonal relationship with your client. And that's kind of what I mean by be human. Just find out, whether this is the right product or right approach with this client. Is it the right way to, going with this client? So that's what I mean by, being human. The second one is, I talk about, be authentic. So what I mean by that, it's a very strong, powerful word, and you probably say in many organizations they also, use this term quite a bit, right? So when you think about, authentic is going with your genuine approach with your client. What I mean by like more about, it's not just about, you go in and just try to close the sales, is going there to show a real interest that you want to invest your time into their success. So that's kind of what I mean by, authentic, be authentic. And the moment client knows that, it's your intention just to go there and help them, it will help you to build a relationship with the client. It will help you to make yourself differentiate than your competitors or than the market. So that's what I mean by the be authentic, because sometimes we may not have the right solutions or the right way to solve all the problems. But at least, if you are open, if we're transparent, if we're transparent with our approach, if we're open with our approach, it helps us to tell them that and actually who we are and what we are actually trying to do in the conversation. The third one is active listening with intent. We talk about active listening. This is one of the key skills. You all know that active listening is the key skill of sales. The question is, what is the meaning of active listening? Is this active listening just as an example, professional? Let's say if I'm like you are saying something and I have phone on me and I'm just looking into my message. Is this active listening? That is not active listening, right? So active listening, obviously, it's more about that be here now. We say be here now. What does that mean is, we try to get into the conversation. We try to understand your clients. We try to understand their tones. We try to understand their body language if you are, communicating face to face, or we try to understand then, how they're using the wording and also try to, answering or responding that way. Let's say if you're talking over the phone, then obviously you definitely want to make some, verbal clues like that. But definitely, those active listening will make a big difference. And when you're talking about, this listening, this is also quite interesting because, sometimes ourselves, we communicate with the email, but we don't communicate with the phone. So email tone is very different than the phone conversation. So this active listening will help you to step forward, to build more relationship with your client. And definitely, it will help you to build better relationship overall. If you are doing that, if you are showing the real intent or showing the real intentions. The next one is the ask open-ended questions, and the thoughtful questions. So, what I mean by the ask open-ended question is, when you are going to talk to the client, obviously you ask lots of questions because that is another key skills of sales, ask some very good questions, right? So ask some good questions. So try to avoid the open-ended question like yes or no type of questions and try to, come up with a question which is more open-ended. Let's say, uh, how would you like what would be the ideal situation or what would be the ideal way ideal solutions look like for you or what you would like to achieve from the new integrations or what you would like to achieve from this conversation so that way you can understand that what is their feelings and try to probably when you are doing the research before you talking to your client then try to understand their business and probably asking them some questions that is related to their business, right? So that's more about, that will help you that, that will show that client knows that you did some research, right? Especially in this world, as many of you know, all the informations are online. All the informations are online. If they want to understand your product, it's in online. Everything is online. But the question is, how you can make that information more purposeful when you know what your client may be looking for, or when you know what your client is looking to achieve, right? So those open-ended and thoughtful questions would be go along the way. The next one is the acknowledge and validate feelings. So what I mean by that, sometimes client can be frustrating. Sometimes their situation, they may be very, very, very challenging, or they're not probably be happy with you at all, or they're not probably happy with the situation at all. But when you acknowledge and validate those feelings, then they can relate. At least this individual at least understand that I'm going through some tough time, and they are with us with the journey, and that will help you to build trust with your client, right? So one time, I'll give you a quick example on my own interactions, where a client was, having some difficulties with some back and forth with us regarding some product that she ordered. So when we going back and forth, and the way she was thinking is, I paid the money, And now you guys are saying that, there is some differences which is not matches with her number to our number. And when I talk to the client, I find out that the client intention was not to make the create some disagreement, or like what client wants is more of detailed information that why our information is different than hers. And when I share those information and I say that I totally understand your frustration, I totally get where you're coming from. And then, hey, this is my information. I can share it with you. And when I shared that, and she gracefully accepted, she said, Abdullah, it's totally fine. I don't see any issues, and I'm so sorry that we have this disagreement with some of these situations. So it's more about addressing their concern, acknowledging, and working through them, and they will be fine. The moment they know that you are showing a genuine interest, they will trust you, and they will trust your opinion, and they will probably, along with your journey, with the sales process. The next one is the practice generosity. So, obviously it's a very interesting terms for, many situations, but, when I'm talking about a sales environment, it's more about, your intention is not to get anything out from that conversation right away. Your intentions to the other people reflect that you're trying to genuinely help them. And that's kind of how you can, build your relationship, build your trust, and build your mark with the client. Uh, the next one is the customized approach or offering. We talk about many ways to all of you is, when you are being empathetic and when you understand your client, that actually will help you to understand their approach. That will help you to understand their offering. Let's say when you are going to pitch your clients, or going a presentation with your client, don't just go with the standard pitch. Just going with the pitch or going with a presentation customize for that client specific. As an example, if you're going to talking to a client who is very much focused on hospitality, just give you an example. I know I'm in this business. You're not going to talk to them to sell something in the schools, right? So you're only talking to them what is relevant to them. You're only talking to them when you do the market research, that you can actually come up with more approach, more offerings, more information to them. So they know that you actually do some research. So that's what I mean by the customized approach or customized offering. The next one is empathize with pinpoints before offering solutions. As we always, we obviously have the intention sometimes that we always come back with the solutions right away. But when you were talking to our client, let's listen. Let's listen to them and hear their, pinpoints, hear their problems, hear what you're looking to achieve, and then you just step back, and then you try to digest all of their feedback and come up with the pinpoints or come up with the solutions, and that will help them to understand that you listen to them and then you come back with the solutions, rather than you just jumping on and say, hey, I think you should do this, rather than let them talk and then you come back, step back, and then give them the solutions. And I know this is very, very simple things, but this will make a huge difference. I can tell you this will make a huge difference. The last one is the follow-up thoughtfully. So what I mean by follow-up thoughtfully is, after a meeting or a call, you all send an email. You all send an email to your clients, which is great. That what I actually mean on this is, being very customized, being summarize the conversation, going with some key takeaways, key points, so that it makes sure that you give them a whole out gist of the conversation and the next step. And always, try to put the next step with your follow-up so that they know what is the next step going forward, rather than, just leave the conversation as it is. Like if you just give them the gist of the conversation, then there is no follow-up. There is no, the next step. So always try to come up with some next step so that they know that what they can expect from you or what you can expect from them, right? But in terms of, I want to, like, before I'm moving into some slides, I want to give some example of on the life. So in terms of, we're talking about, sales approach. Sales has been drastically changed, moving sales from in-person sales to the virtual sales, right? So in many cases, I'm sure you probably met your client first time through email. I'm pretty sure many of you can relate that. Many of you can relate that. So when you are, meeting your client first time in the email, it's interesting because, you do not know the person who sent you the email. You do not know their name. Like you probably know their name. You don't know their cultures. You probably know their language, or you probably language means in terms of, how they, write the emails, or how they, what kind of language they usually, like how they sharing their emailing, verbiage and those. So when you are being empathetic, it helps you to start understanding, some of those because, scenarios was, you're asking some questions to your client got offended. Why you are asking me all this information? Why do I need to give, let's say, this information to you? I don't want to give you this information to you at this point. I'm sure it probably happens that you get some resistance from your client that they don't want to share the information to you, right? And the reason they're not like that, comfortable to share the information to you, it's because you don't have a relationship. You don't have built a trust with that individual. You may think that information is normal, but the other person on the other side, that person do not think that the information they should be shared with you. So it's about, if they understand you, if they trust you, or if you build a relationship, that will help you to move those conversations forward, right? If a client is actually, calling you and sharing you some their struggle with their work, sometimes they do, and then you probably saw why they're sharing those information with me. It's because they probably start thinking you as more about a trusted advisor. They're probably thinking you as a partner who can help their business to grow rather than thinking of as a seller. Because why they would call a seller and spend 10 minutes about the struggle, how they can navigate those challenges, right? So I really see that, there's many ways. There are many ways actually you can actually improve your relationship with your client. Sometimes, you probably notice that your client call you and they're venting out their frustration. I'm sure you probably get that feelings as well. That's a positive. That's actually not negative. The reason it's positive because client think that you are their partner, so they can share it with you. They can share the frustration with you, and that will help you to make things improved for next time. Right. So I think these are all these, these communications, or these are all these examples will help you to make the difference. Because, at the end of the day, I think you all have a great skills. It's just a matter, how you can tweak some of them and make the changes. And that can help you to create differentiations within your community, within your sales community, right? Any questions on this slide so far?
Hi, Abdullah. We do have some great commentary. I just wanted to be able to point it out.
Yep.
Are you okay if I read it off?
Absolutely, please. I can actually see it, so I would appreciate that if you do that.
Okay, lovely. We see Candace here saying this is all fantastic information for me. I'm new to the professional sales world, helping people start their fitness journey at a gym. So being empathetic is so important. Yes, totally agreed. And then a little bit of dialogue going on from Nadine. When you're in a business development role, how do you suggest to bring empathy to that process? Responses here. It should be put under the put customers first approach, in my opinion. Absolutely, but creating a relationship and having empathy first takes time to develop, especially which is a challenge in the BD push. Um, and just wanted to get your input on that, Abdullah.
No, I think that's a great question. So,
Yeah.
in terms of like, I'll come back with again first. Thank you, Candice, for for the comments, and welcome to the sales professional journey. And I hope you have a good journey. The on Nadine questions comes up with mentioning about how business development, how this role, how empathy can impact in the business development side. So, if you're talking about the business development, that impacts with multiple stakeholders, right? So there is two ways you can looking at it. Some organization, the business holder roles with the end client, and some organizations, business development roles within the department. They are working with different departments. They are working with different departments to coming back with some offerings. So if I'm understanding, I'm just giving the example about the interdepartment questions answer, like interdepartment addressing the situation. So when you're working with the different stakeholders within your same organization, you will think about, what are the challenges they're facing and what are the challenges you think that you want to overcome, right? And what you would like to achieve. Let's say you want to come up with some solutions. All right, that's great. You come up with a solution as a development manager, but how that solution impact other department? Is that solution impact positively? All right, positively, number one. What are the challenges you want to address? And when I was talking about, just thinking about, acknowledge or validate feelings or, asking open-ended questions, then when you're dealing with those stakeholders, try to understand that, how these solutions can be benefited for all of us or all of you, how these solutions can be win-win for all of them. And when you want to understand, identify those, that's where these things comes in, which is, ask those questions, understand them, build the relationship, and find out that, if you are thinking like this, what is their thought? Right? So you are coming up with some sort of solutions, what they're thinking. Do they think it's going to work for them? Do they have any recommendation to tweak a little bit or make some changes so that they can also be part of the journey? The big components, Nadine, in all the business development and all the offerings, I hope that I'm addressing the right way, is you want everyone to be part of the decisions. You want everyone to be participated on the decision so that when you come up with that solutions or when you come up with that offerings, everyone think this is our offering. You don't want to make them that's your offering. You want to make them it's our offering so that everyone can work towards to achieve the goal rather than they're being silent. No, this is nothing come up with. I don't agree with it, so I'm not going to work with it. Does
Thank
that answer your questions?
And another great comment here from Scott, having empathy while demonstrating empathy in sales interactions also leads to managing the team with empathy, which leads to a strong company culture.
Totally agree. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree. In terms of, even empathy with the sales, like as a sales leader, even as a sales leader, one comments I make to my team member is, sales is not a plain road. Sales is a bumpy road. There is an ups and downs, lots of ups and downs, right? So you cannot control the outcomes all the time. You cannot. You may be a great results in this quarter. You may not be great in the next quarter. That's not a problem. What is most important is, whether you're whether you have the effort, whether you're controlling what you can control, which means your activities, which means your client interactions, which means your engagement with your peers, with your client, with your stakeholders. And that will help you to build a sustainable pipeline in the long run. So that's how I totally agree. That's a great point. That's a great point that, it helps our team dynamics as a sales team significantly and the boost up the morale and the environment as well. That's a great questions. Any other questions, Roplin, like the
A great piece of commentary from Adam here. Listen to understand, not to simply respond. That's the trick.
that's wonderful. That's a great comments. No, thanks for sharing, Adam. Wonderful.
Thank you, Abdul.
Okay.
Good.
No problem. No problem. So yeah, I'm just gonna move into my next slides. I honestly think that I wouldn't be able to go on and on. So it's great that we're having this two-way communications, and I truly appreciate that. We have, I think, probably two or more slides, but I think we should be able to finish on time. But I appreciate the engagement actually from everyone. All right. So the next one, professionals were thinking about, obviously we're talking about empathy in the environment. And the question is, what is the impact? What is the impact of empathy? Like, why we're bringing empathy into our sales techniques and how that impacts our sales performance, how that impact our teams and all those. So, I review some of those articles, some of those journals. And one of the things I find out quite interesting is that empathy can impact your decision making in buyers by 11%. I think the number is actually up even more. This was the one I read the journal like the year ago, actually, and that time it came up by 11%, but I'm pretty sure the number is way higher than that. The second thing is, we're talking about differentiations, which we have been talking I think beginning of my presentation, I'm always using these differentiations because, as you know, that people want to buy from people and people want to do the business with the people. They don't want to do the business with machine, or they don't want to do the business with AI, right? As you talking about the chat GPT and the AI world, they don't want to do the business with AI, right? So when you call them, you do not want to, you want to hear people's voice, on the other line rather than, just being your own voice. Uh, so yeah, so that's actually, making a big differentiations, your empathy when you are, exercising empathy. The third one is, we're talking about the promote customer-centric approach, which we have been, talking throughout our presentation that, it will help you to understand your client. It will help you to understand what they like. It will help you to understand the offering that would make beneficial to them. So definitely, it helps you to be more customer-centric approach. And there's a comment I know one of you made is, putting your client first in everything you do. And that's absolutely right. That, you are thinking everything like you're doing all your activities thinking of the customer is a main for your journey. Customer is the all in all for your journey. Yes, there are some other components in it, but they are the one where we're still standing and where we're still, doing what we do every day. The fourth one is, we talk about increased optimization, which is, it's just not about, we talk about, report building. It's about, sensing what each buyer wants out each of interaction, which means, when you're talking to your client and you tell them that, what you would like to achieve from this conversation, they definitely have something on mind. When they're coming into a meeting, they definitely want to have something in mind. It's just not, they just want to talk about, some other things about, the sports or weathers and all those. They also have something on their mind which they want to achieve from that conversation. And the last one, we're talking about the enhanced loyalty, which is we're all doing this because we want our customer to come back. We want to do the repeat business. We want to build a long-term relationship. We want our client to be loyal. And that's how we can make a big difference. The moment we become, transactional to relationship, like that's actually go along the way. And that will help you to build a good pipeline. We call sustainable pipeline, right? So, and there's a report, there's a research in Salesforce actually made a research, and they find out that 89% of the business buyers are most likely buy from a company that understand their goals. So it's a big impact, when you're talking to your client, and if client understand that, you're sharing their interest, that will go along the way. And that will help you to, build relationship and, loyalty to your client. All right. So what's next? I know we talk about, in total, I have, 11 slides we've gone over in empathy. And as I know that many of you like understand and heard this, into your life and into your sales skills and into your practice. But what we can think of and how we can take this journey forward. So like building empathy is not, just this 1 hour presentation. It's a process. It takes training and coaching to be, more proficient on your regular sales interactions. The way I look at it is, it's a journey. It's a journey, and we are part of the journey, and we are learning along the journey. Every day we are learning. But obviously this is something, the first question is, do we believe in this journey? Yes, that's something, I would all of you to take away from this conversation. Yes, let's take away this conversation that yes, we do believe in this journey, and then let's work through it. And the next one is, practice or express empathy through your actions. So it can be with your friends, it can be with your peers, it can be with your stakeholders, and it obviously with your client, right? That thinking of empathy in your mind when you're dealing with your client. The third one is, being a go-giver, doing things without immediate promise of a sale. I'm giving you an example with a seller I had. He actually retired from my team this year. He's been in the industry for over 50 years. He was in my team. So one day he came up to me and said, Abdullah, I want to help this client. So I said, all right, so who is this client? So he said, this client wants me to, support them with some TVs. I said, okay, when did you sell this TV? Abdullah, I didn't sell this TV. So I said, okay, so you didn't sell this TV, but you want to help the client? He said, yeah, because the reason I want to help the client, because, he came in, he said, look, I made that purchase, which I shouldn't be doing, but now I'm having some issues. Can you help? I said, of course. And let me know how I can help. He said, I want to give him some discounts on the new purchase. I said, no problem. Do whatever is need to be done to help that client. But his intention was amazed me because that client didn't buy from him. But the reason he reached out, it just he thinks that he's the right guy to talk, and he met that problem, and he will be doing a future purchase. So the same client, after solving that, a couple of $100, same client buy a complete like couple of hundred TVs from him with a new renovation of one of the hotel. It's just because that he took care of him when he was in a very wrong place, wrong spot. So that, it impacts, like when you see the impacts not right away, but you will see the impact in the long run. When you, as a sales professional, you are doing the right things with your client, you will see that impact, not right away, but you will see that impact. You will see lots of word of mouth. Like, I'll give an example with my own journey. I started my career in retail where I used to work for JISC, as a furniture sales manager. I actually was a sales associate, and then I moved on to sales manager and then store manager. But when I was a sales manager or even sales associate, when people come to me to buy the mattress, I'll tell you, I never sell the most expensive mattress. It's not that, like, my intention was not to sell the most expensive mattress. My intention was to sell the right mattress for them. If a client can afford, let's say, $400 to buy a mattress, I would not go and sell them $700 mattress, even though the $700 mattress is good. I would sell them the product that is within their budget and that makes sense for them, right? And that's kind of, I get so many, word of mouth leads, even when I was working from the retail. And that helps me being very successful what I did in JESC. And when I look back those things, those people, I'm so grateful for them because they brought their friends with me. They brought their friends and say, Abdullah, you helped me to buy this. Do you help my friends? And their friends call their other friends and bring more people. So this word of mouth go along the way, when you're trying to help. And same with, in my current journey with Best Buy, where I actually started my journey with Best Buy as an account manager in B2B. And from then, I was fortunate and I'm grateful for many clients who actually, stick with me, being with me, supported me along my journey. But it's all about, I have the good intention. If they call me, I will pick up the phone anytime, even though my role has been shifted, changed over the years. They call me sometimes. Some of my clients still call me at 6 in the morning because 6 in the evening because they don't know I move into Calgary. Because initially I was actually in Winnipeg, and then I relocated myself to Calgary, and they don't know. But I would still pick up, and I would still talk to them. I would still listen to them, and I'll still tell them that how I can help, and is there anything I can do to help their business. And that's kind of, I hope you all take those away because it will definitely help you in the long run. Not in the short run, but it will definitely help you in the long run. The last one is, we talk about the fostering empathy helps you to improve the emotional intelligence. As this is emotional, like the empathy is one of the very key for emotional intelligence. And this is definitely, fostering this empathy will help you to get there. Any questions on this? I know I pretty much actually, finishing my slides. I have last one is about resources, but is there any questions from all the professionals to me or any comments?
Feel free to place any of your questions into the meeting chat or go ahead and ask them while taking yourself off mute. But we do have a great comment here from Sean who's saying, empathy is the difference between being the proverbial used car salesman and being a trusted advisor to your customer. No one cares what you know until they know you care. That is very well said, Sean.
That's a great comment, Sean. That's a great comment. And, I know we have 5 minutes, and I honestly telling you, I really appreciate all of you being on the call because it's not easy to be on the call for an hour without talking and just listening. So it's not as easy. So I truly appreciate that you all, doing that. One thing I'll probably, tell you, like there are some resources I do have for you, and you can read those. One of my favorite book is actually number 3, which is called The Differentiate or Die. It's one of the best book in marketing. I'm a very big, marketing like the fan. So it's one of the best book. It's called Differentiate or Die. It's by Jack Trout. You can search that book. There is the first one. It's called The Never Eat Alone. It's a very popular book as well. And the second one is The Trusted Advisor. So these 3 books, it's actually, have lots of informations you can go through, but Differentiate or Die is one of my favorite books in marketing. The other things, I want to quickly add, I think we have 4 more minutes, but I'll finish off my close remark, which is I start off my presentation. I think one thing I made a comment to you that, the differentiation is you. You can actually make the difference because when you're calling to your client, I'm sure you probably read this through in many of your reading. When you call your client give you 15 seconds to 20 seconds and you will need to improve, you need to prove yourself in that first time, like the first couple of seconds, that whether the client will continue their conversation with you. So when we're talking about all of those, it's you who can make the difference. And empathy is one of the way that can help you to drive that value. And when you drive the value, then you can create the differentiation than others. We have millions of sales professionals, probably not probably millions in Canada, but probably close to millions in Canada, even across the world. The way we can create the differentiations, that is the most unique things we can do, which is, there are many skills we can adopt, we can enter, and we can follow, and we can, believe in. So I really hope that this whole presentation will help you to get some of those things into your mind, and that can help you to drive value and to make the differentiation. So again, like if there is anything I can do, my name is Abdullah Kafi. If you search me on LinkedIn, you will find me. Feel free to connect. I would be, I'm looking forward to see, how I can support Canadian sales associations in future. I know there is some unfortunate announcements been made, which is very unfortunate, but I wish good luck. And I really thank Canadian Professional Sales Associations for this platform, for giving me the chance to speak, and appreciate your support, Rippling, and along the journey you've been, contacting and preparing this presentation. So thank you so much, everyone, and thank you all.
Thank you so much, Abdullah. We do have a couple minutes, so if there are any additional comments or questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat. In the meantime, Abdullah, I think there might be one more slide just for.
Oh, sure. Sorry. Yeah.
No problem. So our next webinar is going to be on January 29th, and this will be with David Leahy from Predictive Success on data-driven decision-making in sales team. This one will be held privately with David Leahy from Predictive Success. So that'll be on our website, on our calendar. Please feel free to stay tuned, bookmark our calendar for the full kind of Q1 roster of webinars and trusted webinars that we will be informing you about via email as well. Huge thank you to everybody in this lovely community that we've built and that I've been a part of over the past 9 years. And this recording will be available as well as your certificate for attending today as well. So huge thanks again, everybody. Wishing you all the best in sales and in your career. And yeah, we'll keep everybody posted on our next kind of endeavors when it comes to the webinar catalog. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.